Hello everyone, it's me Jijo Matthew once again with another session of English. Hope you're all fine and going on well. As usual, we can begin the session with a small warm-up activity. Take a look. I have certain expectations about you for this particular session. Be attentive throughout the session, think in your own way and ready to learn. Moving on to the learning objectives for this particular session that you'll be able to recognize and describe the poetic language used in this particular poem. Before moving on to the session, I would suggest you to grab your pen or pencil, couple of A4 papers, your English notebook and dictionary. If you're not having these materials beside yourself, please pause the video here, grab all these materials and come back as fast as you can. Hope you're all back and ready. Very good. We can move on to the essential question for this particular session. How do poets create different effects in the poem? Open a notebook, pause the video here, use your own ideas and write down whatever you are feeling in your mind about how do poets create different effects in poem. Take your time, finish up this work and come back. Hope you have done. Very good. Some of you got the idea clearly, some are a little bit confused. Don't worry, by the end of this session, you'll get more idea for sure. We have been discussing about poems, poetic language, figures of speech, and poetic devices so far. In today's session, we will be examining a narrative poem. As you are already familiar, narrative poems are those type of poems that tells a story within. Without much ado, we can move on to the first activity. Here I'm going to give you a poem. Go through it very carefully and write down what caught your attraction in the poem. Go through the poem very carefully and write down in your notebook what caught your attention. Take your time, finish up this activity and come back. Hope you have done. Very good. We can move on to the second activity. Go through the poem once again, and this time you have to explain how the poet describes different events in the poem. Go through the poem again and explain how the poet describes all events in the poem. Take your time, finish up this activity in your notebook, and come back. Hope you have done. Very good. We can move on to the third activity. Here you have to explain all the event that is described in the poem in your own words using your own ideas. Take your time, write down, explain how all the events are described in the poem using your own words. Take your time, finish up this activity and come back. Hope you have done. Very good. We can move on to the fourth activity. Here I'm gonna give you some questions. You have to go through the poem once again, answer these questions in your notebook. Take your time, find out the answers from the poem, write it down in your notebook, and come back. Hope you have answered all the questions. Very good. We can move on to fifth activity. Here, you have to go through the poem once again and find out those words that are presented in the poem in a different meaning. Take your time, go through the poem once again and find out those words that are used in a different meaning in the poem. Finish up this activity in your notebook and come back. Hope we have done. Very good. We can move on to the sixth and final activity. Prepare a small summary about the poem in your own words. Take your time, finish up this activity and come back. Hope you have completed. Now it's a time for us to wind up today's session. We started our session with a small warm-up activity. I showed you which are my expectations about you for this particular session. We discussed the learning objectives for the session, that you will be able to recognize and describe the poetic language used in the poem. Throughout the session, we were discussing about the language used in the poem, expressions in the poem, and how do the poet describes all events through the poem. Then I gave a set of instructions to you that you have to follow throughout the session. Asked you an essential question later: how do poets create different effects in the poem? Now probably we can answer. Poets uses different kinds of poetic languages, figures of speech, poetic devices for the purpose of creating different effects in the poem. In the first activity, you are asked to go through the poem and note down what attracts you there, what captures your attention there. In the second activity, you are asked to explain how does the poet describes all events in the poem. In the third activity, you are asked to describe all events mentioned in the poem in your own words. In the fourth activity, we find out the answers of certain questions. In the fifth activity, we find out those words which were used in a different meaning in a different context. In the sixth activity, you are asked to prepare a summary of the poem. Now it's a time for a small assignment. Prepare a reading log of the poem. Write the date, write the title, write the author, write the genre, and write your comment as well. Your opinion. What do you like in the poem? What you didn't like in the poem? Take your time, finish up these activities and assignments. I'll be meeting you very soon with another video lesson. Till then, take care of yourself, stay home, stay safe. Bye.